Mais à partir d'un moment, il y a un déclic. Et je commence à comprendre qu'ils conditionnent nos cerveaux pour accepter ce qu'ils veulent. C'est leur narratif qu'ils veulent qu'on apprenne. Et depuis ce temps, moi, je commence à faire la part des choses et j'ai compris que c'est très dangereux ce qu'ils font. Et aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, je me rends compte qu'ils ont conditionné l'esprit.
Luxembourg just sent an ambassador to a revolutionary African military leader, Traore. But why would a tiny European nation deepen ties with a government the West is quietly backing away from? Let's find out.
It didn't happen on a battlefield. No bombs, no tanks. Just silence as Burkina Faso quietly turned a page in its history. Behind closed doors, memos and handshakes signaled a profound shift, a nation reclaiming its narrative, stepping away from foreign influence. For years, Burkina Faso's security was tied to Western military doctrine and funding, a partnership born of necessity but increasingly resented. Foreign troops, with their own agendas, became part of the problem, not the solution. The silence was the sound of a nation deciding its future could no longer be outsourced. This shift was embodied by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a soldier who spoke of dignity, sovereignty, and African solutions. His words echoed a sentiment simmering across the country. The old ways were failing. The leadership listened to the people's whispers and turned them into policy. This silent pivot challenges decades of international security norms and forces a rethinking of true independence. The Sahel's sands, once marked by foreign boots, are being swept clean. Burkina Faso is forging a new path, by and for its own people. NATO's influence in Burkina Faso was never about flags or formal alliances. It was a web of training, funding, and intelligence, led by France and the US. Burkinabe officers learned Western tactics, creating a military leadership fluent in NATO doctrine but disconnected from local realities. Foreign funding and equipment made the national army dependent, fighting local wars with foreign tools. Intelligence, too, flowed from Western drones and advisors, making Burkina Faso's security vision reliant on outside priorities. This deep entanglement, sold as partnership, bred quiet resentment and a sense of lost autonomy. On the ground, strategies often missed the mark for local needs. The new leadership saw this as suffocating and began dismantling it piece by piece to reclaim true self-reliance. The goal: to breathe freely, with eyes and ears truly their own. Captain Traoré's government moved swiftly, no drawn-out negotiations, just decisive action. The 2018 military accord with France was terminated. French troops were ordered out within a month. The departure of the last French forces marked the end of an era. All Western security agreements were reviewed, and foreign-led training programs suspended. Future cooperation would be on Burkina Faso's terms, with full respect for sovereignty. The Alliance of Sahel States, AES, with Mali and Niger was formed, a mutual defense pact, a new Pan-African security model. Military bases were reclaimed and a national doctrine began to take shape. Traoré's stand was not just about removing foreign soldiers. It was about erasing a foreign military mindset. Burkina Faso was now charting its own course, intellectually and strategically independent. The price of sovereignty was steep and immediate. Foreign aid and military funding were frozen, leaving a major gap in the national budget and modernization efforts. Access to Western equipment, maintenance, and spare parts was lost, grounding aircraft and sidelining vehicles. Training and real-time intelligence from Western partners vanished, forcing the army to rely on its own, still developing capabilities. Diplomatic isolation followed. Sanctions, suspended partnerships, and a pariah status in international forums. The government faced economic hurdles and increased risk on the battlefield. Yet, they bet that long-term gains would outweigh these painful sacrifices. Independence, they believed, was worth the cost. Despite the risks, the gains were profound. For the first time in decades, every military base was under Burkinabe command. No more parallel structures or foreign agendas. A national military doctrine emerged, prioritizing mobility, local intelligence, and community engagement. Training was localized, and volunteer militias like the VDP embedded defense within communities. Losing Western intelligence forced rapid investment in homegrown surveillance and human networks, rebuilding trust between state and citizens. The nation learned to see with its own eyes again. Most importantly, national pride soared. The departure of foreign troops was a symbol of dignity restored. A soldier fighting for his own nation, under his own command, fights with a different spirit. As the West departed, new alliances emerged, most notably with Russia. Russian advisors arrived, supplying hardware and training, filling gaps left by Western withdrawal. Russia offered support without political strings, resonating with the new leadership. The reopening of the Russian embassy signaled deepening ties. Regionally, the AES pact with Mali and Niger became a blueprint for joint operations and intelligence sharing. Joint military actions along shared borders demonstrated a new model of African self-defense. Burkina Faso also diversified, courting Turkey for drones and exploring partnerships with Iran and North Korea. This strategy aimed to avoid replacing one dependency with another. By building a diverse portfolio of partners, Burkina Faso sought to maintain true strategic autonomy. The nation was determined never again would a single foreign power dictate its destiny. Burkina Faso's pivot sent shockwaves worldwide. France and the US condemned the move, suspending aid and lamenting lost influence. ECOWAS imposed sanctions and demanded a return to constitutional order, but its credibility waned as Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger withdrew. Western analysts warned of instability and Russian exploitation, while global South voices saw decolonization and self-determination. The AES was hailed by some as a bold alternative to failed Western models. The world's divided response revealed a deep ideological rift. Old powers saw crisis, new voices saw opportunity. Burkina Faso's revolution was forcing everyone to rethink the rules. On the streets, the pivot was personal. Youth felt a surge of pride. Finally, the country was theirs. "We'd rather be poor and free than rich and enslaved," said Adama, a university student. Soldiers echoed this, relishing ownership of their mission. "If we fail, it's ours to fix. If we succeed, it's our victory." But not all were optimistic. Older generations and business owners worried about lost aid and economic hardship. "Sovereignty doesn't fill an empty stomach," whispered a market vendor. Some questioned whether new partners like Russia would truly help or just exploit resources. Civil society groups voiced concerns about shrinking freedoms and the risks of arming militias. The turn to Russia, with its own human rights record, raised alarms. The nation was divided, hopeful, proud, anxious, and wary. Burkina Faso was living the consequences of its revolution in real time. The alliance of Sahel states is more than a pact. It's a Pan-African security vision. Leaders aim for deep integration, joint procurement, shared arms production, and a unified defense apparatus. By pooling resources, they seek independence from foreign suppliers and foster regional industry. A joint military academy and command structure are planned, forging a new generation of Sahelian officers. The AES is built on the Ubuntu principle. I am because we are. The security of one is inseparable from the security of all. Success could inspire a domino effect across Africa, offering an alternative to the old order. Guinea and others are watching closely. The outcome will shape the continent's destiny. This is Insight Africa, where the continent speaks for itself.